broker and a realtor at Keller Williams Alliance, a past car president. Was it 2 terms ago?
2020.
Okay, because it was you into Quinton, right?
Correct.
And now is
Now
it
it's
Pam Dent?
Mhm.
Now Pam Dent. Okay,
Right.
so this guy has seen it all. He was the president of CAR during the onset of COVID,
Exactly.
of the pandemic.
March of that year. I'll never forget the date, March 12th.
Is when you got initiated, or is it
No,
inaugurated, initiated? What's the word?
Installed.
Installed?
Installed was the word.
Okay.
And that was March 12th, and then everything shut down the very next day.
Oh.
Yeah.
So he's got a lot of perspective. Another stakeholder and influencer on set that has a lot of perspective is Emily Coulter. She's a mortgage banker at Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. And folks, rates are, do you get that question all the time?
Every day.
Is it literally every day? I was going to say, like, what's your name? What are rates doing? Is that how it goes?
Exactly.
So she's going to give us some perspective on rates and how it's impacting the market and how she's seeing it influence the dynamic of deals here at the end of Q1. Nikki Chambliss has just been in fuego of late.
Good morning, good morning.
And has put a phenomenal panel together yet again. So we will rock and roll here on Real Talk on a Monday. And Judah Wickower, we can start the program when you are ready, sir. Guys, good Monday morning. My name is Jerry Miller, and welcome to Real Talk, an insider's guide to real estate, life, and the pursuit of happiness. We are presented by the fabulous Keller Williams Alliance, just a trusted brand here in Central Virginia and across the Commonwealth. So much to cover on the Monday edition of Real Talk. Of course, we're live on the I Love Seville Network, Central Virginia-wide audience, Commonwealth-wide, the country and the world, and your thoughts and your perspective are welcomed on the show. We broadcast across all social media channels, so if you'd like to influence the pace and tempo of the show, just offer your thoughts, your questions in the comments section via DM or text message, and it literally will shape our conversation today. Judah Wickower, we always acknowledge and accolade. He is the director of the show. Judah, if you could go to the foreshot and welcome our panel of stakeholders. Nikki Chambliss put this one together on a Monday, as she always does. Good morning, Nikki.
Good morning.
You've got some friends with you today.
I do. I'm so excited. I cannot wait for you guys to all get to know. I know many of you already know Tom a little bit, Tom Wolfa, because he was president of CAR. But the person that, I'm really excited about you, Tom. Don't get me wrong. But also, my new person for the day that I'm very excited to introduce is Emily Coulter. Yes. So she's a mortgage banker, and she's with Atlantic Bay Mortgage. And if you could just tell us a little bit about, how you're here as a mortgage banker and what that's like for you, that would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. Good morning. Excited to be here. Emily Coulter, mortgage banker here in Charlottesville, like you said, over with Atlantic Bay Mortgage Group. I am a transplant to Charlottesville, came here in 2009, originally from Southwest Virginia. Graduated high school down there, came up here to be closer to my mom and family, and there was not as many job opportunities down there, so wanted to come up here, figure out exactly what I wanted to do, was not sure. Going to school, I studied to be a teacher. Started working for a local national bank that presented me some great opportunity to move up and explore some different avenues. Got into mortgage, fell in love with it. I always make this joke that I went to school to be a teacher, but I am still an educator.
I was going to say.
You are, yes.
To buy homes, so I'm still using that in some way. I'm a resident over in Greene County. And I have a wonderful husband and a 12-month-old daughter, and I love what I do.
So you're in a booming community from a real estate standpoint, a booming business. The mortgage business certainly last year was on fire.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So you got a good situation going on right here, Emily.
Yeah. I really enjoy helping people grow wealth by investing in real estate. And I just am very passionate about it.
Another person that's passionate about this is Tom Woolfolk. He also has some teacher to him. He has leader to him. He has realtor to him, family man to him. Introduce yourself to everybody that's watching, Tom.
Thank you, Jerry. Emily, you mentioned moving up here in 2009. That was the year I got into real estate. I can't think of a better time. If any of you remember back then, the market had crashed. And take something that was tough to get into, but managed to survive and have done this. I was 2020 president of the Charlottesville Area Association of Realtors during the year that COVID came out, and that was a wild ride, but great organization. CAR has given me a lot of support, and I can't think of a better group of realtors to work with than what we have here in Central Virginia.
Truly. Yeah, agreed.
Nikki, I
Yes.
love this panel that you put together. I think we certainly need to talk about the start of this year as rates rise, as inventory is
Yes.
tighter than ever. Can you put in perspective what you're seeing at your desk and across some of the clients you've been doing deals with so far, Emily? What's going on?
Yeah, so we talk about it all the time on this show. I'm a follower. I listen every week. Interest rates are going up, right? They looked very different when we started the year. So being in close communication with clients and talking about what that means for their budget and their buying power. Friday was another really hard day. We saw interest rates go up 24 basis points. And so across the board, most lenders adjusted about 0.25%, right? And so it's been a lot of just hand-holding, resetting expectations sometimes, and just making sure that people are prepared that things may get worse before they get better.
We try to put in perspective for everybody. These are still incredibly great rates.
Absolutely.
I mean, we're sub 5 here. You know,
It's still cheap money. It
So
is.
cheap money.
The challenge is when we're in an area that costs so much, right? And an interest rate goes up. Now somebody who was looking to buy a house in, let's say, the 300s, that might knock them out of the ability to do that, right? A really great example, and I think, Emily, you're working on this right now. One of my agents had a situation where somebody has a new build, which means they're at least a month or two in, which means the price they got that house under contract for is not the same price it will be today, right? And the interest rate bumping up caused challenges for them. Now that's being worked out because you have trusted advisors like Emily and like Amanda Spagoni who make things happen and work for their clients. But that's a really rough deal because not only does the interest rate knock them out, now if they had to re-enter the market, they're re-entering at a whole different price point for the same exact house. That just sucks. I don't know a better way to say that, right?
What are you seeing?
I'm wondering, Nikki,
Yeah.
what this is going to mean for, list prices. In other words, if you have fewer and fewer people qualifying at a particular price point, they're going to have to come down to a lower. Are the sellers going to be lowering them given the inventory situation that we have? Okay. Or are you just going to find a completely different set of buyers who are going to be moving down from the upper level? It's almost like a cascade here. And I'm just intensely curious to see what this does. Typically, I say typically, let's go back to prior to 2007, 2008. Okay. Sellers had gotten used to putting whatever price they wanted to on a house and getting it. And then all of a sudden, the market crashes, there's a lot of foreclosures,
Yeah.
and yet the people who were selling at that time, those prices were staying high, and those houses were sitting on the market for many, many months. So it was a while before the sellers got used to the idea of the market isn't what it was a year ago.
That was very
2 years ago.
impactful. Yeah.
So different cause this time, different situation, but with the interest rates going up, as Nikki points out, your payment is a combination of principal and interest. And if you're paying more in interest, there's less principal, therefore the total purchase price has to come down. How much it has to come down depends on how
Well,
high the
let me
rates
ask
rise and how
though,
quickly.
does it have to come down? How many buyers do we have out there looking for these houses?
Ton of buyers.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Yeah.
So I would say I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Okay.
Just put my little devil horn hat on here and
All
say,
right.
you know, doesn't have to come down.
Yeah.
It's impacting a lot of people that really do want housing and want to enter that lifestyle of investing and securing their price point for that stabilized budget, right?
Sure.
And think about all the other people out there that are still making those offers. I don't think it has to come down.
What do you think, Emily? Jump in here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting for sure. What I'm seeing a lot is folks in the beginning of the year being approved for a certain price point, and that allowed them to maybe be closer to town. And now people are having to open up their search to going to other areas
Yes.
because of being approved for less.
That's certainly one of the consequences, because we do see that around here.
And that can be tough.
You got props coming in right now, Tom, from a friend of yours, Jay Bankert.
Oh, careful now, you're going to give me a big head.
He says Tom Woolfolk is a great source of market intel, local and overall. We really trust his guidance. He's an uncommon gem in this field, Tom Woolfolk, and that's from Jay. So what is the, let's talk guidance. Let's talk how you guys are a compass. You guys are kind of a North Star through this process. Talk to us of how you are managing that guidance from start to finish. Tom, we'll throw you on this one here.
Okay.
Let's go with the buyer representation first. We also want to hear from you on seller representation. Buyer representation, you've got a family that's looking for a dream home in a very difficult market. Give us the perspective you're sharing to this family that's going through the most arduous process of their life opposite of who they marry.
Right. It's interesting because I have to be careful not to assume that they know some or all of what I know, which is my first words out of my mouth are, this is a very tough market. It is a seller's market, ne plus ultra. So they have to be ready, and I have to prepare them for these are the steps, and this is the mindset you have to have in order to get a house. So be prepared to be disappointed, but be prepared to jump in there when you find a house that works for you, to go all out.
Yeah, Emily, same to you. What are you seeing the guidance that you're offering to folks?
Yeah, absolutely. Something very similar where we're having very transparent, sometimes hard conversations that it is a tough market, but that's okay. We just need to plan for it and have a good strategy. So my guidance is these are not the days just to talk to any old lender and get a pre-qual, right? Those days are gone. We
Yes.
really, to be the most competitive, we need to get you vetted through underwriting, truly understand your budget, talk about where rates could go and how that may affect us, and again, just have that solid plan in place so that when we are at the point of making an offer, we're making our strongest, best offer the first time. And knowing that it's even then likely not to get accepted, right? But we just have to hold on and trust the process and trust, our advisors that something will work out. I'm a strong believer that everything happens for a reason.
Nikki Chambliss.
I think all this is great. I want to ask Emily real quick. So you mentioned getting somebody in that underwriting process. So are we talking about well before making that offer, right? So what kind of leverage does that allow that client to have, that buyer?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's making you stand out against competition when you've got a specific letter that says, a real live human underwriter has taken a look at this and is agreeing that you are approved for this loan. If you've got the time to do it, please do it right now. It means a lot in this market. I have won deals specifically just based on that. As soon as an offer goes out, I'm calling the listing agent, putting in a good word for my client that they are a solid buyer. And sometimes that offer wins and it's not even the highest bid.
Mm-hmm.
Tom Woolfolk, jump in here.
Well, I have to echo what Emily is saying. I'm seeing a lot more lenders that are willing to take their clients through the pre-approval process. And just so people understand, we differentiate between what we call pre-qualification and pre-approval. And pre-qualification, a good lender, a good loan officer can do that in what, Emily, about 20, 30
15
minutes over the
yeah.
phone? It's real quick, okay? But pre-approval, she mentioned taking it through underwriting. Underwriting is the people within the mortgage loan business who have the checklist, and they go down box by box and say, okay, do we have this information? Do we have that information? In other words, if you're pre-approved, you're a more fully vetted buyer, okay?
Absolutely.
So you're closer to that point of saying, yes, we qualify for this amount, and yes, we can certainly buy this house.
So this question's coming in from Richmond here. How far do you think rates are going to go in 2022? I'm sure you get this all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we know that inflation is a big deal and that the feds have to fix that. And we know that there are going to be more rate hikes this year. I mean, some folks think that will be at 6% by the end of the year.
Do you think rates will then start dropping once inflation gets in check? We know Jay Powell has got to utilize the instruments he has to get inflation in check. We also understand that he's got this other collision of circumstances with the Ukrainian-Russia war that's impacting commodities, impacting gas, impacting oil, and certainly creating this geopolitical crisis, and uncertainty brings volatility in markets. We understand that. Do we think once we hope this war is over and Powell and the Fed get inflation in check that we'll see rates drop back again? Or is 5 to 6 potentially the new norm moving forward?
Yeah, I mean, I think that is so hard to say since there are so many variables that could impact rates. I'm hopeful that once we get through some of these world issues that we do see rates level off, but I think I'm somebody who I prepare my client for the worst and hope for the best, right? Because we don't know specific timelines, so it's just so hard to project what that rate is going to be, once we're at that point. Yeah, I would say I'm hopeful they come down, but until then, I'm going to prepare my client that this could be the new norm.
Okay. Ray Cadell, hello, welcome to the show. Neil Williamson is giving everybody some props. You got a number of your colleagues in the business watching the program right now, and questions are coming in fast and furious. Is Tim your man, Tim Coulter?
Yes, that's my lovely husband.
He's giving you some props. Hello, Tim. Welcome to the show. Lisa Sodders, hello. Welcome to the program. All right, so why don't we talk about the potential of a spring market. So COVID was an anomaly from a real estate standpoint. I mean, there really wasn't a downturn. I mean, you had fire the whole time here.
Yeah, we had 2 months of a downturn in the middle of the spring market. This was 2020 I'm talking about. And we're wondering what's going to happen. Everybody has to quarantine. And so what's the big deal with real estate? Our biggest worry at that time, Jerry, was whether the government of Virginia.
It's going to freeze you, shut you down.
Yeah, were we an essential business or not?
Right.
And won't go into how they came about that we were determined that we were, but I want to thank the people who helped make that happen. But we had 2 months of downturn, and then it came roaring back. So you had a spring market. It was shifted by Nikki?
Couple
2
months.
to 3 months?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, and then 2020 was big, and 2021, I need to slow down.
I don't know. Too much
2021 was even bigger. So will this year be as big as 2021? I don't know. Probably not, but it's still going to be a good year. Again, we've got this inventory problem, but it is easing somewhat. Okay, but we're still counting, inventory in weeks, not months.
It is really rough as far as inventory goes,
Yeah.
truly. And we talk about it on a regular basis. There's not enough we can do to catch up. And the nice thing is now things are being done, so it is going to start alleviating. And we do live in a transitory area. So
Right.
people are going to be moving regularly, which will help alleviate our inventory shortage. If we didn't have that, I can't imagine doing this right now.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we expect other markets that you guys are covering to pick up? And then we're also getting, for the follow-up question for you, we're getting the question about locking in rates now for deals that may transpire 60 to 90 days down the road, if that's an option. First, your thoughts on pockets of real estate in an ecosystem that may start to get momentum that we should keep an eye on, Tom.
Jerry, I tend to work in the outside areas, and when I say outside, the greater Charlottesville areas, Charlottesville, Albemarle County, and then the surrounding counties. And I tend to work in those surrounding counties. So I see the lower price points, okay, and there's more competition there, of course. The days on market is lower, that kind of thing. So that's where I say it's going to be tough for people because, as Emily pointed out, if because of rising interest rates, you have to lower your price point, now you're having to move out. So that's pushing the competition out to, say, Greene or Fluvanna or even Louisa County.
Yeah, how about you, Emily? What do you see?
Yeah, so I mentioned this earlier, with rising interest rates, that has certainly priced a handful of my buyers out of, the Charlottesville market and looking at some surrounding counties. To touch on whether people should be locking in right now, if you are considering a new build, absolutely. That's the scenario that I had helped Amanda with recently, where rates went up, somebody was no longer qualified for the particular loan program that they were looking at, and now we're looking at something else, and we don't want to have that happen again. So we are looking at doing a long-term lock. It does come with an option, thankfully, that if rates do get better within 30 days of closing, we can float down.
Nice.
For folks buying existing, though, unfortunately, we can't get that rate protected until they find a property and are under contract. So again, we are subject to the rate changing, but that's where you've got to have a relationship with someone like me who is going to be in touch with you multiple times a week right now, giving you updates about rates and making sure that has not affected your budget.
Absolutely. So let me ask you a question. So once you're under contract and you're trying to lock in that rate, what time frames are you able to do that in? You know what I mean? Like, because maybe you're under contract. Usually they're closing pretty quickly, but every now and then you have some odd situations, or maybe the seller needs a later close date, right? Because you're trying to meet their needs.
Yeah, so a regular lock could be anywhere from 30 days to 120 days.
Okay.
That's not bad.
No.
30 to 120 days is good.
Yeah.
Of course, the longer you lock, you're going to have some price adjustments. A most favorable lock is going to be 30, 45 days, which is typically the closings we're doing. But there is that option to lock for longer.
This question, go ahead.
Yeah, I've got a question for you, Emily, and this is a lot of the clients I work with, they will qualify for one amount, but they don't necessarily want to spend up to that.
Sure.
And I'm thinking in the environment we're in right now, to have that, to build in a little headroom for yourself, will allow you to be more competitive in terms of, okay, if it goes over list price, can we compete? Can we put an escalation clause in there? That's something I like to talk to my clients about. The people that come to you, how many of them do you see are looking to go 100% of their max or want to back off a little bit? I mean, do you run into that?
Oh, absolutely. I have one I talked to this morning that we're facing that. But it is, again, just goes back to working with somebody who is having those deep conversations and doing a deep dive on your finances and figuring out, I mean, right now I'm talking to every client about here's what your max number is, and you've got to consider that when you're going out shopping. If you're going to be looking at a property that is, I mean, I feel like every property that hits the market right now is going to be in a competitive situation, but we know that escalations in a lot of cases are what are winning the deal right now. So being very mindful if we've got that room for escalation or not.
Yeah.
Ken, your dad's giving you some props right now. Did you see that?
I did.
Yeah.
Love
So
you, Dad.
proud of you. Dan Pettit's got a question for Tom Woolfolk. We'll get to that in a matter of moments. This is a really good question from Stacy, who's watching in Crozet. Stacy, you've become an active participant in our shows, and we are very grateful for your participation. This is for Tom, Emily, and Nikki. With our assessments increasing dramatically, how has that impacted your businesses and closing deals? That's a very good question right there.
I can go first on
Sure.
this one. So I have a situation right now where somebody is looking to purchase and they have a home to sell. And we are looking at, in order to be more competitive, right, we looked at an option to where we don't have to make it contingent on the sale of that home so that we can, win the deal. And we are using the appreciation that that gentleman has received in his existing home to do some sort of like bridge financing. So taking a second deed of trust on his existing home, utilizing that equity to bridge the gap, to bring more money to the table, to make it non-contingent so that we're more appealing.
Barbara Bozick, so happy to
Yes.
see Emily Coulter getting a spotlight. She's an absolutely wonderful person. That's
Thank you,
right.
Barbara.
That
Barbara
was
is
great.
wonderful as well. She's another local.
You're getting a lot of props here. I can see that you're very well liked. So is Tom. Assessment increases in your business. It is the chatter, certainly in Charlottesville, of all outlets, certainly here on this network. How are you seeing assessment increases impacting your business in any way?
I'm not seeing it yet, Jerry.
Okay.
For a buyer, the impact would be, as the assessments go up, the rates do get adjusted, but where are they going to end up? I always had this belief, and I could be wrong, so correct me here.
Okay.
I'm willing to learn in this. But anytime locally, like say Charlottesville, Albemarle, I think it gets adjusted every year,
Yes.
every other year, something like
For
that.
a while, they weren't quite consistent, but now they are.
Yeah, okay. So
Much
in the
more.
rural counties, at one time, by law, they were allowed to go 6 years in between adjustments. Yeah. And back during the market crash, because right before the crash, numbers were really high. And then, the market crash, so they're supposed to follow the market. We know that, it's a loose following, okay? The impact, I think, Jerry, to get to the chase on this, is for a buyer, what component of their payment is going to be that set aside for taxes? And, we are known down here to have low rates compared to, say, some of your northeastern states or your New England states, because I get a lot of buyers. I love these phone calls where they call up and they say, I see that the taxes are, $2,400. That's a month? And I said, no, that's a year. And I get several seconds of silence because they're used to high rates, and that's one of the appealing things about this area. But it does have an impact because, as you know, what are the four components? Principal, interest, taxes, and insurance. Yeah.
So this is impacting your business potentially more right now than some of the realtors, Emily.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's part of the calculation.
Yeah,
It's more
absolutely.
directly related, yeah. I mean, because that's where they're getting those numbers and that
Sure.
calculation, and oh my gosh, this is what my payment's going to be.
This is Vanessa Parkhill. Welcome to the program. Dan Pennant has this for Tom.
Okay.
You are familiar with Louisa County. Are you seeing more building permits in the mineral area than before?
The short answer is yes, but I can't tell you how many.
Okay.
I just know of some builders that are working there. I am seeing some new building going on around Lake Anna. So that's Louisa and Spotsylvania County, depending on which side of the lake you're on. We've got some property down there right now, and, we've had it listed 2 times now, and mostly interest from buyers. This time around, a lot of interest from builders, and I'm seeing the construction taking place. So to answer Dan's question, I want to say that's a qualified yes. I just don't know how much.
A follow-up question for Emily. Are you seeing reverse mortgages with baby boomers?
Interesting. So I personally do
Careful
not do reverse mortgages. So I have very little experience. So that's just not in my wheelhouse.
You seeing any reverse mortgages, guys?
So I've been hearing that conversation come up more often. I'm not necessarily seeing it right now, not directly. That doesn't mean it's not happening. And I know they have their purpose. I just, there's history there, right? They've been that kind of thing. Sometimes people get taken advantage of and get put in a rough situation. So I feel like when I hear that, unfortunately, like my brain goes, red flag, red flag.
Right.
And it's not that it necessarily needs to be. That's
Sure.
where education makes so much of a difference.
How about you, Tom?
My caution on reverse mortgages, and this is anecdotal, but I'm going to share this, with the audience here, was a husband who had gotten a reverse mortgage on a property, his home, and he subsequently died. His wife was not on the deed, so the note gets called, and she has to move out of her house.
Oof.
So it's, I would say, not a good situation. Obviously, he didn't look out for her. In that regard. Was he aware that this would happen? Who knows? But it's, not something to be going into lightly, I'm thinking.
This is an interesting topic and springboard for conversation. Please ask the guests, this is from Stephen, please ask the guests if they do, or if they're seeing a lot of deals coming from folks that are transplanting to the area. So I'll add to that a little bit. We've gotten the moniker, Zoomtown moniker. Certainly Albemarle and the city of Charlottesville have.
Okay.
Where folks are working from an ISP and maintaining a salary in a different market. Oftentimes that salary is much higher pace or deeper salary than those that are around here, which gives them more purchasing power, more disposable income. Are you seeing, Emily, I'll throw it to you, a lot of deals come across your desk that are folks moving to the area that are Zooming?
Yeah, I have a handful for sure. Several that are moving to the area, and they are, maybe taking a new job in their field. I have several that are moving to the area that they are staying within their job and just working remotely. That was not a choice before, but we know COVID has changed a lot of things, and some folks are able to remain in that remote role and kind of rethinking where they want to live now that they have that opportunity.
Do we see a lot of the, are you seeing a lot of the buyer pool being out of area folks?
I mean, I wouldn't even say it's a whole lot more than normal. I think we have because of that transitory nature, right, of our area, we have quite a few buyers who are from out of the area for various reasons, right? There's NGIC, there's UVA, there's just life changes, moving closer to family, moving further away from family. I mean, there are all sorts of reasons to move to or from a place, and we get a lot of that here. We also we're a beautiful area, right? Like, I wake up every day and I get in my car and I'm like, oh my God, the mountains are so pretty. It's like I'm 5 every day, and I love it because I grew up where it was flat, though,
Yeah.
And people come for that because it's worth coming here for that.
What do you think, Tom?
It's, I have to echo what you're saying, Nikki, because, I get up. I love to drive. I love to drive into Charlottesville. I've got about 6 different ways I can get into town, and I love them all because it's just a gorgeous drive.
Yeah.
We've got some traffic, but hey, go live in Northern Virginia for a
I was like,
while.
no, we don't.
We don't have traffic.
I mean, I'll complain about it, but also, no, we don't.
Yeah. But to answer your question, we saw this starting with COVID because I like to quote Lisa Sturdivant from time to time.
She's great.
Yeah, we all know who she is. She's the chief economist for the Virginia Realtor Association. Anyway, up until COVID, the migration was to the cities and the urban areas. And, she had charts showing all this. After COVID, it kind of reversed a little bit. So people were wanting to get out into areas where they have a little more space around them because they perceive that as being safer, maybe. And what you were saying, Jerry, is we're Zoomtown, people who could telecommute, work from home. And we're seeing more and more of this because it's interesting. When I'm dealing with new buyers, the top 2 questions were, how old's the roof and how old is the HVAC? And now a third question got added to that was, how fast is the internet? Do we have broadband here? Well, what's your definition of broadband? And it is improving. But it's taken a while to get there. It was interesting to me to see Nelson County and Fluvanna with Firefly. They were kind of taking the lead there. And a couple of what a lot of people would consider rural counties, people are going there because they can get that high-speed fiber optic internet, which rocks.
You know what? And I feel like COVID brought it to more people's attention, the lack of cell coverage and of solid internet. Because before that hit, that used to be one of the first things I would have my clients check. I was like, look at your phone, you have cell coverage. Does that matter to you? right? And it helps if like my carrier is different than their carrier, but it's not always the case. And now people are asking that more because it's where there's a higher awareness. That need for that is just so much more.
Yes.
Kevin Higgins, we'll get to your comment. He's watching in Greenwood. More questions coming in from Richmond. We're really developing a Richmond audience on this network with the proximity to Charlottesville. Go ahead.
Speaking of Richmond, I didn't actually answer the question fully that you asked earlier. And what I found when I was still practicing is it wasn't that I was having more people coming to our area because of remote. I saw that and I see that with my agents. But I actually had 2 of my clients were leaving the area because of Zoom Life. So not leaving the area, but going to Waynesboro and going to Richmond. And, she pops in, once every couple weeks and is connected to the Zoom Life and is able to work remote and was able to buy a cute little place in Richmond. It was a win-win.
So this is similar to here. This is from Sally Young and her family. Jerry, we were priced out of Albemarle County because of increased taxes and a loss of job. We moved to Richmond and found a home that was larger at a significantly lower price point than what we had in Albemarle County. Can you please ask the panel if they're seeing their business expand toward Richmond, at least maybe even the west side of Richmond? Can you specifically ask Ms. Coulter if her business is expanding to the Richmond portion of Virginia because there's more inventory available and a deeper pool of buyers? That's a great question.
I personally have not found that to be the case. Most of my business has been around the Charlottesville area and surrounding counties. I would say I've had a handful, but not more than usual.
How about you, Tom?
I want to stay in my own sandbox, Jerry.
Yeah?
I've learned that over the years. I have helped buyers all across Virginia, but I like to work in an area that I know. And usually if I have someone say wants to go to Richmond, I've got people I know down there that I would say, here's someone who can help you better than I can.
Yes.
You want the best service you can get. I'm going to refer you to the best people I know. And, good luck. Stay in touch with me. Let me know how it's going. I do want that feedback. But, I'd say in the past couple of years, I've had one client move from the Petersburg area up here, but have not seen a whole lot of people saying, I want to go over there.
How about you,
And
Nikki?
that being just outside of Richmond.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, like for that one example, right? She was a great client. She was wonderful. We started looking in the area. She was priced out of the area, just like our viewer was talking about. And it was just as competitive in Richmond as it was here. There were more lower priced options. There was a much larger group of smaller houses, because I feel like that's one of the things I feel like in our area, we've got a ton of really big houses. And I'm not talking about the downtown teeny houses, but because that's a thing too. But we don't have a ton of smaller sized houses available, which would be a really great fit for a lot of people. Richmond seems to have that more.
Yeah, there's open inventory in Richmond. So that was a fantastic question right there from Sally. This is from Joanne, and Daniel McDougall is in the mortgage business. He's watching. 75% of my business is coming from the Richmond-Williamsburg corridor currently.
Really?
Interesting.
So he's in the game, and he's
moving-
local in this market.
working that, yeah.
So I'm here. I'm from the folks that. We're supply chain, just like you guys in this real estate industry, and we learn from Dr. Sturtevant that real estate is the second largest GDP producer in the Commonwealth behind government contracting.
Right.
And you literally look at the 5 people in this room. 5 of us have our livings in some way. You guys certainly do.
Of course.
My living in part is associated with real estate. And I'm seeing a lot of the folks that we're dealing with looking to push their footprint toward Richmond because of the additional inventory. McDougall, D-Mac, we love you when you watch this program. 75% of his business is heading this way, and more folks are jumping in about this. Let's get to Joanne Mackey, who's watching in Keswick.
Yeah.
She says, if you pay your school district superintendent, this is talking about Tom's comments about taxes being much higher elsewhere versus here. And she says if you pay your school superintendent $1 million yearly, like in Westchester and Nassau counties, outside the city, outside Manhattan, you can expect higher real estate taxes. But salaries there are also very high. The problem is the student from UVA returning after their careers in the Northeast with deep pockets of cash. You keep making this a great place to be, so that will keep driving people to this community. I can also relate to that. I went to UVA and chose to stay because I fell in love with the area as a student of the university, and now I'm seeing the fraternity brothers and classmates that were my year at UVA are choosing to uproot their families and come here,
Right.
because they remember their 4 years of Charlottesville being incredible.
Yes.
And they see the schools, they're working in Northern Virginia, and they're wanting to come here now. So I'm seeing that trend happening considerably. This is an interesting one for Emily. Do you do anything in commercial real estate? I believe you're just residential. Right.
Residential,
Residential.
strictly, yes.
And the follow-up question to that is, if you don't do anything commercial, do you refer it out? How does that dynamic work?
Yeah, absolutely. So if it's commercial, I would certainly find a lender that has some tools in their pocket to support commercial. I'm strictly residential, though.
Tom, anything you want to add on commercial there?
I've got to echo Emily's comments. You're in this business for a while, you get to know the people that work in those areas. And we've got a fair contingent at our office at
We
Keller
do.
Williams Alliance. And, within Charlottesville, some great people. Some of them are past presidents of CAR.
Wait,
So-
which ones? We have a few of those.
Quentin's one of
I
them.
was like-
Huh?
Quentin's a past president.
Quentin's a past president. He does a little commercial.
I was like, are you doing commercial now? I thought you might have been
Well,
referring to
all
yourself,
right, I'll
so I
name
didn't
drop
know.
here. Ben Downer's a past president.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, I think he's strictly commercial. Robert
Yes.
Amato's a past president.
Yeah.
I'm sure
Awesome.
there are some others there. So
Yeah.
it's a smaller contingent of agents than the residential ones, but it's
It is.
because of the size of the market. But having said that, you develop these relationships, and again, it's like if I'm sending someone out of this area
Yes.
to buy a house, same thing if I have somebody who wants to do commercial.
Oh, absolutely.
I've got a good stable of people
We've got
that
Jeff
I can call
Hoover,
on.
Kate Lucas.
Yeah.
I mean, they're
Yeah.
both, yeah.
Kate
They're my
Lucas has come on this show.
Kate's
She's
been on this show.
fantastic.
Nice.
She is.
Yay.
So how about multiple folks are asking about this, including Kevin Higgins. Do you guys expect any softening with commercial real estate now with the Zoom opportunity?
I would not know how to begin to answer that.
That's a great question. And you know what?
Yeah.
Let's find another show for that. Because
Yeah.
I would love to
Yeah.
be able to get
That
some
would be a good
commercial
one to delve
focused
into.
guests.
I
That's
can-
a wonderful question.
I can offer some perspective here.
Please do.
This building is commercial. We have 24 tenants in this building, and I have not seen any softening with our holdings here. In fact, we have a waiting list of folks trying to get in.
Sure.
Now, some commercial real estate, Class A in particular, I think those price points have softened a little bit, and a little of the leverage has migrated more toward the tenant side when previously it was definitely in the landlord's corner. I think there's certain
Yeah.
aspects of commercial, for example, we have a dentist. I mean, you're not going to be able to do dental via Zoom.
No.
We have massage therapists upstairs. You're not going to be able to do massage therapy
That's a
via
high-touch
Zoom.
business, right?
Yeah. So there's some aspects of commercial that are not going to go away, but I understand why people are asking the question.
Well, take this data point. What was it the government announced here a day or so ago, that the unemployment rate is at the lowest level since 1969?
Right.
The economy is moving. So there's need for commercial space and doing everything, telework, telecommuting, Zoomtown, blah, blah, blah. That's not going to replace everything. So there's still going to be a need for brick and mortar commercial.
And I feel like, and Emily, we'll throw this to you, I feel like we as people, we want to be around other people,
Absolutely.
and we want to do this. Can you put in perspective the face-to-face and the in-person when it comes to your business? And the importance of making that human connection when helping clients get to the finish line?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's so important, right? We're holding these folks' hands through a process that is most likely the biggest purchase that they have ever made in their lives. And nothing can replace a human being, right? We have so many options where you can go through lenders online. But you need somebody who knows the area, who is well connected, who is seeing your real estate agents face to face. I mean, that's just so important.
Yeah.
What do you think, Nick? Go ahead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
So commercial.
Go for it.
I'm going back to that because I want to say, like, for a great example was my own office space, right? Keller Williams Alliance and Closure Title. We were thinking, everybody's doing remote. We're working remote. Okay, that's great. Let's free up a little bit of our space. And what we found was as soon as things started to slightly open up, we were like, actually, not only do we need more space, the business is growing. So even with like Closure having some people working remote, they still needed more space because their business as a whole was growing, which completely balanced that out. So, and that's what we found as well. So you're always going to still have that need for that space. Not to mention some people cannot work from home. It just is not their jam. I can, and the reality is I know I'm going to get more done and more accomplished as far as work goes.
I cannot work from home.
From work, yeah.
Separation of church and state.
I know.
Finish
For
your
real.
thought
Yes.
of what you were going to say.
Oh, well, I was piggybacking on what Emily was saying is that there is a lot of emotion in this business. Yes, it's, what was the
More than
statistic I
ever
said?
right now.
28% of the GDP of this country is real estate, in one shape or another. When you get down to individual cases, you're dealing with people who have some fear and uncertainty. There's confusion about this, and you're not going to get that personal care from a checklist on a website.
Well said.
I'm sorry, but you just won't.
This is where we say, this is where I throw shade at the Rocket Mortgage. Shade at Rocket Mortgage. In person, and local. In person and local is the way to go.
Yeah.
And certainly when it comes to real estate professionals and mortgage professionals, please. This is a good comment from Daniel McDougall. He says, we're not feeling the commercial downsizing pain points yet because most of those were 5 to 10 year leases. As leases come due, you will definitely see firms looking for less space, 10,000 to 5,000 square feet and beyond. That's a good comment right there from Daniel McDougall.
Thank you.
This is an interesting question from Jennifer, who is watching in Short Pump. Dude, the
we
Richmond
go.
and
Yes.
west side of Richmond
They're rocking it
contingent
today,
is
huh?
rocking it. Jennifer says this, are you guys feeling good about your businesses for the remainder of the year? Yes or no? You want to start with that one?
Sure. I mean, I am taking more applications than I've ever taken before. That's just been my experience this year. There has been no slowdown with new apps. We just don't have enough inventory to support that. We talk about this all the time. So I don't know what it's going to take to fix that, but I'm busier than ever. Maybe have a little less to show for it because folks are on my plate a little longer than usual, but I mean, I think it's still very strong out there.
Are applications increasing, remaining steady? Are they flat? Are they going down?
My applications have increased month after month this
Get
year.
out of town. Congratulations. That is awesome because that's Keith talks about this often on the show. That's a good indicator of what's going to happen for the next 30, 60 to 90 days in the business. How closely do you track that? I would imagine that's a key KPI that you're
Oh
tracking.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my numbers every week, sometimes multiple days a week. And yeah, I mean, again, my applications are up month after month. I think that's a great indication that spring market is heating up. We just need more homes.
What do you think, Tom?
It's a business of barriers and opportunities, and we don't always know what we're going to be running into, but we're professionals. It's our job to figure out the solutions to the problems and have a team of people we can go to, other trusted professionals, that will help us solve these problems for our clients, and that's why we're here. So, yeah, whatever comes up, this is what we do. This is why we're in this business. This is why we love it, because at the end of the day, if we're successful, our clients are successful, and they're happy. And no amount of money can replace that, in my estimation, in my experience. It's
Tom Wolfolk, you're a good guy.
I just love this business.
You're a good guy. Nikki Chambliss, what's on that brain over there?
So I think this question is something that a lot of people who are working in real estate are asking themselves and have been since hopefully they started working their business plan at the end of last year, right? With a shortened inventory, how am I going to make these numbers work? If it's harder to help get a buyer under contract and the competition for listings is intense, at the very least, right? What am I going to do? And a lot of that is just making sure that you're focusing on those foundational elements of running a business. Call your people, stay in touch. You need to know that the helpful tactics that are not just going to be tactics, but that are going to make a difference in your buyer being able to get under contract. What's going to really make that offer solid? Being in the underwriting process already, that's huge, because in that case, sometimes you can offer a 3-week closing, right? Allowing complimentary seller possession, whatever it is that we keep calling that, right?
Yeah.
Those kinds of
Have you heard that?
things, right?
Complimentary seller.
Dude, that just blew my mind when Jason Kirby said that. That blew my mind.
Yeah.
And people are, I mean, such is the dynamic of this marketplace.
But these are the things, and it's not even a matter of being crazy creative. It's a matter of saying, okay, where are our challenges? Where are the roadblocks? And what can we do to either go around them or to remove them?
Yeah.
And just keeping that steady, level-headed pace and doing those things, that makes all the difference.
Yeah, I've got a term for it. I call it, we're the exterior viewpoint. We're not in the arena. I mean, we are to some point. But we're the guy who sits in the corner of the boxing ring talking to the boxer in between the rounds, right?
Very nice, Tom.
Okay.
Boxing metaphor, I like that. That's the first one.
So like Nikki says, we have to keep a level head. We have to understand the playing field. We have to see the issues and understand this so we can best advise our clients, again, so that we have a good outcome.
When you're doing that, then you can look at that business and go, oh, actually, I can continue to grow this year. Yes,
Yeah.
The business is challenging. It's always been challenging. It will probably always be challenging. It's the nature of real estate. And when you're running a business like a business, that makes a huge difference.
This question's come in twice. Is the Ukrainian-Russian war impacting your business at all in any capacity?
Personally, I'm not seeing it.
No.
But, yeah, it is having, the obvious effect on the economy right now.
Right.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I'm paying more for gasoline. Just the cost of doing business.
That's how I see it. How about you, Emily?
Yeah, I mean, obviously we know it's impacting rates and we know what that does, but something I try to do in my business is keep my client focused on that payment, right? So we know rents are going up, so keeping the client focused not on rate, but what they're going to be paying every month and comparing that to, if they were to stay in rent, what that looks like.
Well said. Very well said. Questions coming in. What would you tell, this is from Daniel McDougall, what would Tom and Emily tell a couple who are planning to downsize next year but worry they will not get as much money for their house that they can get right now? It's $1 million question, he says. So if a couple is planning to downsize next year but they are worried they will not get as much money for their home than they can get right now in this market, what would you tell or advise to that couple?
That's a good question, and I get this a lot. What is the market going to do in next? I've heard everything from 2 weeks. So I've got a client right now who's worried about interest rates because they're moving. So they're having to sell here and they want to buy in another state. All the way to what's going to happen, at the end of this year. And we can't predict that. I don't see anything right now that indicates that prices are going to be dropping. I think what we're more interested in is, are they going to still rise and how much?
What do you think, Emily?
Yeah, I mean, that is exactly what I was thinking. I hadn't heard that either, that it's expected that prices would go down. I've heard the quite opposite, that appreciation will still continue.
Yeah,
Well,
I mean,
so-
we just had a report out from, I think it was Zillow and Redfin, that said that you can expect the appreciation in homes because inventory is so tight to continue to be this roller coaster upward. And Zillow was predicting, now Zillow, we trust with a grain of salt here, but they were predicting 10 to 12% increases year over year on homes.
Well, and the distinction there is this is not the Zillow algorithm we're trusting. This is economics. There
Yeah.
are economists there that have been hired and hopefully know their stuff.
It's not the
better.
iBuying company.
Are we allowed
I like- let's-
to mention them on this show?
Yeah, you guys hate
Those of whom we will not say.
Well,
No.
Not so much hate
tool.
them. They are who they are. They have their place in the economy.
Yeah. Yeah.
But seriously.
10 and 12% seems pretty high.
Yeah.
It does. And I remember, Nikki, this was at one of our corporate retreats.
Nice.
And there was a graph. It was the statistic of, home prices. There was a trend line going over the
Yes,
past
this was a
5 or 6
national-
decades.
yeah.
The trend line is 4% a year. I mean, if you just draw a straight line that goes up. So, and it was showing what was happening from year to year and how in '05, '06, and the early part of '07, it was up, and then it dropped way below the line, so we had this trough underneath that, and how in 2021 and early part of this year, it's starting to approach that trend line again. So is it going to continue to rise at like 10 to 12%? I don't see it doing that.
Well, and
Emily,
so,
go ahead, Nikki.
For these people who are looking to downsize in a year, though, let's just go worst case scenario, because I find that that's not a bad route to go with any client, right? What is your concern? Let's go worst case scenario, because it's probably not really that bad. So let's just say that they did soften a little bit and that prices went down a little. That would be the worst case scenario we're looking at in a year, right? Probably not going to happen, but let's just go there. Okay, so you're going to get a little bit less for your house, but what does that mean for the house that you're buying?
Correct.
I'm assuming that they're buying on the other end. Now, if they're not buying on the other end and maybe they just want to go live the Holiday Inn life or something, I don't know, then that's a whole different conversation. Then there's a potential loss there.
Yeah.
But if they're buying on the other side of this, okay, so what do those numbers look like? Work the numbers. It's basic math. And when you work the numbers, it makes sense. And then there's really not a big concern of, oh, what about in a year, right?
Yeah. The other thing too is,
sorry.
I'm sorry.
I was
go
going to
ahead.
say, because are they concerned about having down payment money? Are they concerned about what their payment's going to look like? There's
Exactly.
a lot of unknowns.
Exactly.
Probably all of those
with
things.
that.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that's where when you break down the math and you compare, okay, what if you did it now, which it sounds like now's not a good time, right? Or maybe they're just concerned about the market. So maybe now is a good time and there's room for education of, hey, actually this could work for you now instead of in a year. Or, hey, obviously this doesn't work for you for another year. Let's break that down.
You're
Yeah.
getting, Emily's getting some props right now from Mo Barros, ELS Mortgage. Says he's giving you some props and you're doing a job well done here on the program. This is an interesting discussion for multiple people, and Barbara's got a follow-up for you guys, which we've touched on, but I want to highlight Barbara's question since she's doing such a great job participating with today's show. She says, I'm curious if you noticed the spring market is about to start, or if you think it's about to start, and she follows up by saying it started in January 2021 and it never ended. This year it seems certainly different, where we had a little bit of a hiatus,
Right.
as we normally do, at the end of Q4 to start Q1. Are you expecting a more traditional market this year, is what she wants to know.
I am, a little more of that, yes. In terms of timing of it, yeah, I'm expecting we're going to start seeing things now.
What do you think, Emily?
Yeah, I mean, spring market traditionally starts for me January 1. Everybody starts calling me 1st of January, getting their approvals in order. I've seen that this year, and as I've mentioned, month after month, I've seen those application numbers go up. So a lot of folks, I mean, they are preparing for a spring market and just hopeful that there's going to be homes to support
Gosh, we
that.
just need inventory. God, it's the same common denominator. We need some inventory so badly. And the crazy thing is the influx of new buyers is going to get even deeper when the School of Data Science opens on Ivy Road, when Amazon's
Yes.
facility
Yes.
opens in Augusta. I mean, we got hundreds of new workers that are going to be coming here. We hope they're locally sourced workers, but we know that's not always the case. When this data science school opens, when the students at UVA, more students than ever are being admitted this fall to UVA.
Wow.
And the university has said they're going to have more staff on the payroll than ever before this fall semester. So we have Amazon,
Right?
the data science school, more students coming to UVA, and more UVA staff than ever before on the payroll. This problem is going to get, I don't want to call it a problem, because I guess if you're
Call it a challenge.
this challenge
Yes.
is going to get more challenging. Tom
Absolutely.
Woolfolk.
Yes.
I mean, what are you seeing? What's on that brain over there when we see 4 different KPIs suggesting an influx of people with well-paid jobs coming to the Central Virginia region?
Jerry, I want to have a letter writing campaign to the property owners in the area. Maybe they're out of state, they own vacant property. Maybe it's inherited, maybe they moved away and haven't done anything with it. It's out there. It's out. I'm starting to see solicitations from investor companies that want to hire me to sell whatever they're able to pick up like that. And I think that's interesting.
Well, I'm not going to say which one, but our advertising agency represents a developer in town.
Right.
And we're doing literally a direct mail campaign, utilizing the GIS as a baseline.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sourcing lots that have not been developed.
Right.
And neighborhoods.
I'm seeing land go now that
Every month.
wouldn't sell before. It's just moving.
Every month, we're
Yeah.
sending direct mail marketing collateral
Mm-hmm.
to landowners saying, hey,
Yep.
now's the time to
Yep.
build. Are you ready to rock and roll?
Yes.
And those parcels of land that are undeveloped are more valuable than ever. I mean, certainly in Charlottesville and Albemarle County. Can we talk about financing new construction when land is purchased and perhaps utilizing the land as collateral to get a home built? Can you walk us through that process, Emily?
Yeah, absolutely. So you definitely, if you're going to build, you definitely need to look into your options because there's a lot out there. If you own your own land, then we need to look at, okay, who's going to be your builder? Do they offer some kind of builder line of credit to build off of that? And then do we do a takeover loan at the end to lump everything in the land and the structure? Or do we need some kind of financing to construct? So figuring out what the need is, it can look different case by case.
I would say that there is no better time than right now, at least in the 20-some years that I've been in this area, to be a custom home builder or a production home builder and be in the remodeling game. The remodelers have waiting lists for months.
Oh my gosh, yeah. The ones I know.
Yeah.
Yeah. My contractor friends in that business is just,
The custom home builders
Yeah.
are realizing that they have tailwinds behind their businesses because there's so little existing inventory on the market. And the prod builders can't build them fast enough
right.
for the closed contracts that are waiting there. How about this question or this statement? Having a home sale contingency on behalf of buyers will definitely alter the traditional spring market with inventory issues we are experiencing. So Daniel expects to see more subdued spring market this year. You agree or disagree with that statement right there, Tom Woolfolk?
I'd say it's going to be subdued compared to last year, but it's not going to be a wide gap. And let's put it in perspective. Last year was a stellar year. This year is still going to be good.
But do we characterize last year as an anomaly? Is last year the real estate anomaly where you guys will look back on this over like a 10-year period of time and be like, look, we probably should have taken 2021 out as a benchmark indicator here because of this pandemic?
I don't know, Jerry. It all depends on how you want to look at it. I mean, it is a response to what the market forces were at the time.
Okay.
And we still had a lack of inventory last year, and look how it did. So, yeah, we're still dealing with a lack of inventory. It hasn't shut it down. It's made it harder for buyers. Yes, there's a whole lot more competition. My listings are still getting multiple offers. And that just gets worse the lower in price you go, because there's so many people at that end that, qualify, and there are too many people chasing too few homes. But if you want to compare one year to the next, yeah, one's going to be up, one's going to be down. We'll probably be a little bit less this year. That's my gut talking to me, okay? But it's still going to be a good year. It's
Nikki?
still going to be a good year.
Well,
You
when we're
think so?
talking about buyers who have a home sale contingency, why are we talking about that and not troubleshooting that home sale contingency better? Because
Yeah.
that's what I'm seeing out there a lot, is if you've got a trusted advisor who knows their stuff, they're going to better troubleshoot that with you. And they're going to try to find solutions that work well for you to help you not need that home sale contingency so that you're not having a gap where you're worried about being homeless, because nobody wants to do that, right? And you're able to sell your home and buy your home without a home sale contingency. So I just think we really need to do a better job at finding those solutions, because a lot of times they're there. Not always. There's still going to be people who are going to need to have a home sale contingency. But I think the amount of people that think they need it versus those who really, that's their only option, I think there's a gap there.
Stephanie says, for Emily, what percentage of your business is existing financing, refinancing, and new construction?
Good question. So I would say 80% of my business is purchase compared to refinance. New construction, though, not a very high percentage, maybe 5 to 10%. Most folks that I work with, if they explore the building process, sometimes that's not exactly what they thought, or sometimes their expectations around building, they just find out that buying something existing is easier.
Yeah,
Yeah,
for sure.
true. I'm wondering how much of the building business is on spec at this point.
Do you
I should know that number.
Do you,
But I don't.
walk us through your thinking here. I would think with the lack of existing inventory and the deep buyer pool,
Yes.
that spec homes are just not as necessary as they previously were, because you have a waiting list of people looking to move or buy into this area.
Certainly, they will be under contract before the home is completed.
Yeah.
No question.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
But when I say a spec home, let me define that a little bit further. One where the builder is breaking ground before he has it under contract.
that's an interesting question.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, so that's an interesting question, because you're basically saying if they break ground and the construction starts, that home is going to be under contract before it's finished.
Correct.
So not your traditional spec necessarily,
Where they finish it and then,
dipping their
they've got
pool,
some
their toe in the
more
water, and to see what happens.
Taking
That
that
is a good
risk.
question.
Yeah.
But I feel like they've been burned in past history,
Oh, yeah.
so that taking advantage of what could be an opportunity, they're a little gun shy, I think.
Well,
I
we've
mean,
still got long memories to 2008.
We do.
When
Yes,
the-
big time.
That whole business went away, and then a lot of those builders went away.
How can we figure that out, Tom?
Let me give that one some thought, Jerry. Off the top of my head, I don't know.
Yeah, that is a topic we should cover on the show.
Well, we could go to the Blue Ridge Home Builders Association and just say, hey, do you poll your members on this? What do you know? How many of them are actually doing that, as opposed to, let me use Liberty Homes of Virginia as an example. They've got their sales offices and they have their plans, and they'll, here's a lot, here's a plan, what would you like? They get them under contract, then they go build. Okay,
Yeah.
so that's a pretty sure thing, and they do that all day long. But how many people, in other words, the lender first has to say, okay, if you've got the line of credit established, then we'll let you go ahead and do that, I would assume. And if not, they don't bring us a contract, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if they have the builder line of credit in place, your lender's not typically getting involved until about 30 to 60 days before closing.
Yeah.
Joanne says, I always found custom home building like custom fashion, way more costs. I'm an off-the-rack gal. It does the trick at my end. My pockets are not that deep. I love that reference right there.
I love that too.
And
Not to mention,
and I bet she looks fabulous with
Oh,
that.
we've dubbed her the Queen of Keswick. She's always
There you
looking
go.
fabulous.
so
What is
question
it,
for
off
Joanne when she
Saks
gets a chance.
Fifth Avenue?
Yes, exactly. Yes. So I want to know if she walks into houses though and sees walls that need to come down. Is she like that? Because that's how I am. I walk into a place and I'm like, oh, let's move that. Let's remove that.
But do you do the work?
Well, so I currently live in my home project, and
so you're doing it now.
no walls are moving or will for this particular house. And to say I'm doing it now would be a stretch of actual progress that is being made. I have done some of it. My master bathroom has been mostly finished, though I still need to paint the ceiling and replace the motor and the fan. And my office is mostly done, except the baseboarding that needs to be sanded and painted and put back in, and. So it's a work in progress, kind of like me.
You are not a work in progress. Come on now. You're doing a job well done. And you're certainly evolving and improving and being awesome as a broadcaster on this network, Nikki Chambliss.
Thank you.
How about this one? What percentage of your buyers? So many questions. We're going to try to get to as many of these as possible, guys. Okay, I promise. What percentage of your buyers are buying townhomes or financing deals on townhomes? There's not a lot of townhomes around here, are there?
No, and that's, I have done townhomes in the past, but the past couple of years, no.
You're seeing some townhomes.
I've seen a couple.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've seen a few. A percentage of my business, maybe like 20%.
Oh, wow.
It's not,
That's more than I thought, though.
yeah.
That's a decent percentage, yeah.
And
It's
in which
really-
jurisdictions?
Albemarle, I'm trying to think of the most, Albemarle.
Okay, there you go. So that was a good question. This comment, risk-based, 20 to 25% of builders left the profession after the 2009 disaster. And that's part of the predicament we're in right now, is there's not a lot of tradespeople left to service the demand that we need. And we're seeing that with not only builders, but in the remodeling space as well. All right, so as we wrap up, this question for the panel here, what is your take on, and you've touched on this already, but offer the viewers and listeners a recap. What is your take of how the rest of the year will play out? When we start with you, Emily, on that topic.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a good year. Obviously, we've got some challenges, but I just have to keep going back to hiring a team that's going to help you through those challenges, a trusted advisor, both on the lender side and the real estate side.
Tom Woolfolk.
I can echo that. I mean, we're here to come up with solutions to deal with these challenges for people. And there will still be a market. It's going to be tough. Interest rates going up. Buyers are going to have to deal with that. Finding the sellers, finding the places that people want to buy, but it's all part of the job. It's all part of the job, and I think 2022 is going to be a very good year, number-wise.
Both are bullish on 2022. Nikki Chambliss.
So I think, I think any year could be a good year, right? So let's go with good year. And I think even when it comes to the real estate market, that's a very accurate way to frame it, right? And I think that when you're a buyer, you really need to have that trusted advisor. When you're a seller, guess what? Yes, it's a great market for you, but you also really need to have that trusted advisor. Like, I don't care if your house is only going to be on the market live for 3 days. That needs to be the best 3 days of your house's life, right?
Well, it requires that preparation for those 3 days to be successful.
It really
Yeah.
does, and there's a lot that goes into that. So don't take that lightly. Don't
No.
misunderstand the weight of that just because it's easy to sell, right?
Yeah, I'm not
Let's
seeing
be
that
careful
people
that.
are buying just anything.
They're not. And
Yeah.
and the way that it's presented and put out there and professional photography and 3D walkthroughs, like all that stuff is important, right?
Yeah.
It matters a lot. And then for those of us who are on the real estate side as professionals, it's a matter of, what is it that's going to make your business do well? What is it that's going to help you feel more stable? Having a business plan. Everybody should have that in any business. Revisiting it at least quarterly to see how are you doing on that? Are you on point? If not, what things need to shift? What is your focus? All these things are things that are going to make life better for everybody.
Great take.
Yep.
Job well done. You guys were fantastic today. Seriously.
Thanks for having us. I love doing this.
Absolutely.
It's a
Yeah.
pleasure.
Joining us.
A lot of
This is
fun.
great.
Great
Yes.
questions that came in.
Yeah, we didn't even get to them all here.
Hey, can I talk to Joanne real quick?
Yeah, please.
Okay, she left a comment earlier. It says, I do have friends in New York that are being told if they do not return to their Manhattan office, that where they are moving to, their income will be adjusted accordingly. So think about that. I will tell you, the 2 clients that I had that bought outside, in our surrounding area a little bit, I double checked with them multiple times through the process. I was like, are you sure your employer is going to allow you to remain remote? Are you sure there are no negative impacts? And do you have that in writing? Please have that in writing.
Yeah.
If you've ever been in the military, you need some stuff in writing. And even then, it might, be changed on you. Just saying.
Great take.
There you
We'll
go.
follow that closely. I really hope the folks that do move here do have the autonomy to move here and work afar from their employer.
Because having that fall through, that's beyond challenging.
Devastating.
Right?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
I was trying not to say that, but that's really what it is.
Devastating.
Yeah.
Great take.
Yeah.
Judah's our director, Nikki Chambliss, Emily Coulter, Tom Woolfolk. This is Real Talk on a Monday. You guys did excellent work.
Thank you.
Excellent,
Thank
excellent
you.
work. The I Love Seville show is up in 1 hour, guys, where we'll talk some news and notes that are important to you. Thank you kindly for joining us on Real Talk, presented by Keller Williams Alliance. You guys have a good morning. Take care.